Hello and welcome everyone. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, POS Mart, Integrating All That Data. I'm your host today, Karen Kurzweil, and I welcome you to contact myself or Janet Dorncott after the webinar to request any additional information on our white papers, our future webinars, software, and services. Before we get started today, I'd like to give you just a few housekeeping instructions. First, we have muted all the participants, but if you could also put your line on mute as well, that will avoid any headphone or static caused from other devices. Second, we have activated the chat, so feel free to ask questions. We will wait until the end of the presentation to address those as time permits. Last, today's presentation will be recorded and available for you on our YouTube channel under Relational Solutions. Our presenter today is Janet Dorncott. Janet has planned to keep this webinar to 30 minutes, so we will leave it open for Q&A as needed. Janet has over 20 years of experience in information technology. She founded Relational Solutions in 1996. Relational Solutions was recently acquired by Mindtree and is now Mindtree's Center of Excellence for Analytics. With that, I'll turn it over to Janet to get us started here today.
Thanks, Karen. I'll start with just a slide explaining who some of our customers are and a little bit of background on Relational Solutions. So we started the company, like Karen said, back in 1996. My partner's Rob York, and we started with the idea that we would specialize in data warehousing and business intelligence. So we do come at this space from the IT perspective in terms of making sure architectures are fundamentally sound and designed using best practices. Our reports that we develop are generally include not only point of sale data, but also data from internal sources. So with our enterprise foundation, when we used to build data warehouses across all industries, we had the issues with integrating data from Oracle and SQL Server and Teradata and SAP. Well, with the CPG companies, they've got the added complexity of integrating point of sale data as well as syndicated data. And there's a lot of complexities associated with that. And it's not that data is not available, and it's not that data doesn't exist, but the issue is that that data is not in a very easily usable format. So our customer base is quite varied, as you'll see from this slide, and that's because we don't just integrate data from chain drugstores or from food stores. Whether that point of sale data is coming from food, drug, mass, specialty stores, big box stores, even your own specialty stores, we're able to integrate those different data types, and we're all able to integrate them with your internal master data. So with that, I'll go ahead and describe the complexity that is associated with all of the different data that people are getting. So the POS data dilemma that exists is basically that a consumer goods manufacturer is getting data from so many different sources, as I mentioned. And it's not that these sources don't provide their own reports. In most cases, you can buy reports if you're getting that data from a third-party data provider. You can also create reports or even receive reports from certain retail portals or even from their partners as well. So the reports and the data exist. It's just that it's not integrated, so it's not easy to align, and it's all siloed in its own compartmentalized areas where you have to go one place or another to get this information. So there's all these issues with point of sale data, like I mentioned. This list or this screen basically summarizes the common issues that we see. But the bottom line is that analysts spend about 90% of their time gathering, cleansing, and integrating data. And inevitably, even when questions are asked about the data, those analysts are stuck going back to the source of information and justifying where those numbers came from. So why is this such an issue? Why is point of sale data so difficult to integrate with your internal data sources? Well, first of all, there's a lot of different retailers. Most companies are not just selling through one retailer. Most companies are selling through dozens, if not hundreds, of retail outlets. And oftentimes those retail outlets may or may not have similar ways that they're sending you the data. You may have retailer A who's sending you attributes that include time, date, units, price, store, whether or not they have product, how many units are in transit, on-hand inventory, on-hand quantity, in warehouse, on order. You'll have another retailer that sends very basic information. the date and time, number of units, and maybe the store number. So it's very, very difficult to align that information when they don't always provide, and in fact, they never do. They never all provide the exact same information. So aligning that is an issue for analysts. On top of that, they have different weekend dates and different start dates. Some retailers have a Monday through Sunday week. Others have Sunday through Saturday. Others have Saturday through Friday. And whatever you have internally may or may not jive with the retailers that are most important to you. But I can guarantee they won't jive with all the retailers because they just simply don't usually have, there are just many different options for different weekend dates and different start dates. So that data, how do you align week one of sales if your week is Monday through Sunday and retailer A's week is Sunday through Saturday? You have to pull out Sunday, you have to tack on the new Sunday and apply this old Sunday to the prior week. Same goes for this, other retailer where you're getting week start dates that happen on a Saturday when your other retailer ended on a Saturday. So you have to adjust all of that information so that that information aligns with the accurate date from each of those different retailers and from your own internal place. When you have dozens of retailers you're doing this for, this is extremely cumbersome. On top of that, retailers are sending you files in various formats. You'll get EDI files from some retailers. Some retailers will have the option to get data directly from their portal or in an AS2 file or a combination thereof. You may be getting data from Target through Partners Online or Info Retriever. You may be getting data from Walmart on Retail Link. You might also be getting their EDI files and their AS2 files. You may be getting data from some retailers in a CSV or a flat file. On top of that, you may be needing to integrate shipment data that happens to be in SAP or Oracle. But all of these are different data types. And these different formats that are coming in all need to be turned into a common format. So how do you take a file, one that's in Excel and one that's in SQL and one that's in Access, and populate Teradata? It's not an easy thing to do unless you've got the right tools to do it. But a lot of times, analysts are stuck doing all of this stuff manually, again, themselves. There's also different reliability. Different retailers provide different reliability. Sometimes there's missing data. Sometimes the portals are down. Retailers will frequently recast data. Maybe there was 2 days missing from last Wednesday, and so they don't discover that for 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, a month later, they decide to send you that week's data once again. How do your processes know how to recast that data? If you don't have something that's designed in an open architecture way that allows that data to flow through naturally, then an analyst is stuck going back and manually recreating those reports and dealing with all those other problems again that I went through in the last few slides. And how do you deal with the fact that some UPCs, that some retailers will pad UPCs on the front end or the back end with different numbers of digits, or they might strip them out altogether? That all has to manually be corrected if there's not an enterprise architecture to handle those common data issues. And then, of course, there's EDI inconsistencies. So EDI data that you get from one retailer, which is supposed to be standardized across all retailers, is never exactly the same. So although it's supposed to be standardized, everybody that works with EDI knows it's not. So it's not easy to deal with EDI. It's not easy to parse those EDI files and then make sense of them compared with other EDI files. Again, it all has to be done manually. And and on top of that, you've also got retailers that send data late. You've got third-party data providers that might have issues with why their data is late, or maybe they have to average data. Even the syndicated data providers, where they're providing data, they're rolling that information up to their algorithms, which might not necessarily be the same as yours. And by the way, it's not the raw data. So you're using whatever functions they've applied to that information. Now you're not using true point-of-sale data any longer. In addition, they have different hierarchies. Retailers look at different data differently from one another, and they look at it differently than you might look at it. You might look at it internally by category, brand, sub-brand, item, product number. Another retailer might have subcategory that they put that information to and drill down by brand, product number, product ID, and SKU. Every retailer has a different way of looking at the data. It might be pretty similar, but it's not typically the same across retailers. Then, of course, you've got the different frequency of feeds. You might be buying RMA, regional market area information, from a third party, from a syndicated data provider, and they might only provide that information on, maybe they provide that data weekly, but your company only buys it annually. Well, if those RMAs are aligned with zip codes, then at some point or other in that year, that information is probably not accurate. It doesn't change very frequently, so a lot of companies do only buy that information annually, but it does change often enough that they can provide that information more frequently. So the varying or the data feeds that you're buying could come in different formats. You might get point of sale once a month from one retailer, and you might get it daily from another. You may have syndicated data monthly, but it might be point of sale that you're buying on a daily basis, but you're only receiving it monthly. You might be buying weather trend information and you're getting that quarterly, or you might be buying currency, you might be accessing currency conversion information from free sources, but that's occurring on a daily basis. How often do you want that applied to the data that you're looking at? And then if you're trying to integrate it with internal data, that ERP data that you have is being updated on a daily basis. And it's being updated many, many times throughout the day, because as orders are taken, that ERP data changes. And then you may be getting EDI feeds daily, weekly, monthly. It really varies on the different source. But the fact that you're getting all of this data at different times means that that has to be aligned too. Because what happens if one retailer is only sending you data on a monthly basis and it's rolled up weekly, yet you're getting data from another retailer on a daily basis? You want the model that you're building to support daily level detail, even if those retailers are only sending you weekly data today, because tomorrow that could change. They might start sending you daily data. Then there's the market conditions that you're subjected to. Anytime a company decides, or maybe your company decides to add a new data source, maybe you decide to switch from one manufacturing application to another manufacturing application. New competitors enter the market, new retailers enter the market. You're subject to any laws that might occur. Today, people are concerned about Sarbanes-Oxley's compliance. They've been worried about that for 10 years. 20 years ago, Sarbanes-Oxley's didn't exist. So you're subject to any kind of market condition changes that occur as well. Maybe you get a new CEO, and that new CEO wants to focus on different areas or switch categories or decide to acquire another company. There's all sorts of issues that could happen there. You may wonder why your sales in California are drastically down this week, and discover that, yeah, there's forest fires in California occurring, and they're affecting a lot of business in that particular area where you were concerned about. So all of these conditions can affect the way you're looking at data. The bottom line is, if those conditions change, the integration processes may be impacted by those changes, which means that an analyst is then again recreating those reports. And people often wonder, why are they recreating the report every single week? It's the same report. Why can't they just rerun that report? Because they're subject to so many different changes as you're seeing in these different slides. You're also subject to any changes that the retailers make. So a retailer might decide they're going to merge with another retailer. Well, if Hannaford provides data in one format and Food Lion provides it in another format, and they haven't integrated their systems yet, but they plan to, how are you going to integrate that data with your internal reports? If they start sending you on-hand inventory information when they never offered that before, how are you going to manage that when you now want to start tracking the new information that's being provided? Maybe they decide they're going to take their portal that they're offering you and start charging you money for it. Or maybe they decide they're going to end of life this one, and you'll have it available for the next year or two, but they're putting up a new portal, and it's going to be designed way better than the old one, according to them. But how do you manage those changes? You don't even know necessarily what's going to be in there yet. Maybe you've got a new buyer that you're calling on, and that new buyer wants to see things a lot differently than your old buyer, and they may want to see profitability or margin in a different way than the old buyer wanted to. So if you need to make changes to those reports because of that buyer request, you're then stuck going back and making changes to that information. And again, when this is all done manually, it's why the bandwidth of these analysts is so slim. They don't have the time to manage all of these different changes that are occurring. On top of that, end users' requests change. So today they may want to look at their own internal sales, and they may have no need to compare it with any other retailers. Well, e-commerce exists today for a lot of companies, and so do sales on their own website versus Amazon's website. There's all sorts of omni-channel issues occurring out there. Maybe today they don't just want to see their sales at Walmart. Maybe they want to see their sales compared to sales that they have online, or compared to all retailers, including their online sales. And that's something a manager would want to see if they're responsible for overall sales. So the end user's requests are constantly changing. They may have a new calculation that they want to be leveraging. They may have data that moved from SAP to Oracle, and now they want to be able to incorporate that. Or they want to now they have a great understanding of their sales, but now they want to look at their sales versus their shipments and their promotions and their plans and their budgets. So anytime those user requests change, the reports need to be changed, and so does the way that you access that information. What POS Mart does is it streamlines that whole data gathering and cleansing process. We're aligning that information, we're synchronizing that information, we're applying business rules that correct problems that we know are common with point of sale data, and this is a very simplified version, but all these different sources that exist have all the problems that I just described in the prior slides. And it's not that the reports from these systems necessarily go away. You may still have requirements from time to time to go right directly into Retail Link, or to directly look at some information that came from the source directly. But for the most part, 99% of the information that you're going to need for reporting is going to be gathered, integrated, cleansed, validated, and put into a usable format where end users have easy and quick access to that information. And it's designed in a format that allows for speed and easy query access, and therefore leading to data consistency, more productive meetings, more productive analysts, giving the analysts time to actually be the data scientists that they were hired to be and the data analysts that they were hired to be, and not spend all their time cobbling together all this information with all the issues associated with what I outlined earlier. So we call our foundation our Smart Solution Architecture, and the core of that architecture is our BlueSky Integration Studio. We refer to it as BIZ, and BIZ is basically doing all the cleansing and integration and harmonization and mapping of those different data sources. It's where we've got the design, we've already pre-designed retailer mappings to bring in new data from those different sources. We've got business rules built in there where we're saying if you expect to get 1,000 or 100,000 rows from CVS on a regular basis, and for whatever reason you only got 800,000 rows from them that day, that would be an anomaly. And you may want notification anytime you're anytime there's an anomaly that's greater than 10%. So we can apply business rules that we know are common requests across CPG companies. We can also integrate other data sources that you have internally. So if you've got an existing data warehouse, we can integrate with that. If you've already got data clean and valid, we can integrate with that. If you're moving to the cloud and you want to put data into Redshift or Azure, for example, we can do that. The application architecture is open. BIZ can source and target virtually every data source. And our data model is designed in a way that allows for fast performance of query speeds. It also has the flexibility to add other subject areas. We design our data model in a star schema, so you can add other subject areas. It also can be, we also have that designed in ways to allow for the solution to be in the cloud or in an MPP platform. We also have the retail calendars built in, so you can report to your management based on your terms, and you can report to the different retailers based on those retail calendar terms. And we have our report matrix. Our report matrix is basically got different functions built into the data model where we're enriching the data that's coming in. And when we're enriching that data, we're providing more value to those retail teams who may have had limited information than they had in the past. POS Mart is the underlying architecture. It leverages this BlueSky Integration Studio with all of these different components. And on the front end, we've got BlueSky Analytics and Control Center. There's several versions of BlueSky Analytics. There's the power user version, the casual user, and the Excel plugin. And then the Control Center, BlueSky Analytics, by the way, allows you to receive all your reports. You can drag, drop, drill, create new reports. If you're a power user, you can just receive reports. You can create reports right from within Excel if you're interested in continuing to use Excel for your report development. The nice part with our Excel plugin is once you create that report once, it's still accessing all this underlying architecture. So it does allow you to just go in and simply refresh reports, as management might often ask an analyst, why can't you just refresh that report? Well, because the underlying architecture is taking care of all those issues and those constantly changing conditions, you're able to refresh those. This will handle, the underlying architecture will handle about 95% of all ongoing issues that occur in those, that I mentioned in those previous slides. Any anomalies will be separated out, and whoever's managing the application will get an automatic email notification. In most cases, if we're managing the application, that information is corrected before the analysts or the end users even are aware that there was an issue with the data. We'll have that corrected before they even come in. The Control Center allows a user to edit data. So if, for example, a retailer sends you a data feed and it now has a new product, well, you may have started selling that new product and you don't have your own internal product description yet. When that data comes through, it'll say there's a new item here. It will be sent to whoever's assigned, or whoever, based on your security levels, are managing those products, and then that end user can use the Control Center to update the database with the correct information. In TradeSmart, we're now adding other subject areas. So we're doing more than just integrating point of sale and syndicated data, as we are in POS Mart. With TradeSmart, we are now adding our trade data model with all the cleansing and integration processes required for trade. And in TradeSmart, we're also integrating plan, shipments, forecasts, budgets, and cost of goods sold. So we're piggybacking off of this POS Mart architecture, but we're adding all those other areas that are necessary for trade analytics and ROI analysis. On the end user side, again, for the reports and for doing ad hoc queries, they're using BlueSky Analytics, the Power User tool, the Viewer, and Excel Builder based on your preference. And you're also using Promo Pro. Promo Pro is giving you the ability to make edits to your data. Maybe you had a product that was supposed to, a display that was supposed to ship out on July 3rd and it accidentally didn't get shipped out till July 4th, and so therefore the promotion that was supposed to start on July 4th didn't run until July 5th. That's where Promo Pro will allow us to go in and make edits to those changes to those to that data. POS Mart is an enterprise demand signal repository solution. A lot of people use the DSR term, the demand signal repository term. We coined the phrase enterprise DSR because, again, we came at this from a foundation level. Our background is in data warehousing and business intelligence. The design of those are designed to incorporate change and growth and to manage business rules. That's what makes our solution different. We are not simply providing retailer category management reports. We are doing that, but we're also doing it in a much broader view so that you can get a 360-degree view of your sales, and we can integrate that information with the other internal data that will provide more value to your business. So we're integrating all of that. We're aligning the different hierarchies as we talked about. And then our BlueSky application automatically pushes reports and alerts out to end users on things like out of stock, phantom inventory, zero scans. You can see ship to consumption reports and so forth. The architecture looks like this. There's different sources that occur that every one of our customers have. And our BlueSky Integration Studio, Biz, on a nightly basis, looks for new data that's arrived. That data is then grabbed by Biz. It's staged in this staging area. We cross-reference that information. We apply the business rules. We do the cleansing and validation. And then we push that information into the actual database that contains the historical information for analytics and for reporting. The power user can use the BlueSky Analytics to go in and create reports, and those reports are then cached on the server so that the end users log in and they're accessing that information through the web. The business user can also allow for the end users to update reports as well. So this flexible architecture that we have for POS Mart, commonly, the reason that we developed TradeSmart is because it was a very common next step for people who want to integrate plans, cost of goods sold, shipments, forecasts, and so forth, so that they can look at ROI analysis. So the first portion of this the first portion of our smart architecture is the underlying architecture, and that's the foundation underneath that first orange bar. And then the business intelligence tool is what you're using to query the database. And the reason we put it under two different brackets is because this component the entire thing can be behind your firewall. Or if you want to have everything behind our firewall and simply give user access to your internal teams, we can do so. In addition to that, our POS Mart application can feed other applications, as this picture depicts. So we're gathering the data from these different sources, and we're aligning that information. We're creating sandboxes of information for the retailer teams, because the retail teams need to have a very secure and in-depth view of their sales. Yet, from management's perspective, that information also needs to be rolled up so that they can look at year-to-year comparison, month-over-date, cross-retailer reports, and so forth. On top of that, then, the other, not only are we feeding that information to the people that are creating reports, but we're also feeding that information, or able to feed that information, to other applications that could use the data. Very commonly, TPM or TPO solutions, VMI applications, forecasting and planning. Any other system can use clean point of sale data that could get value, can be sourcing it from here, where we now have that data clean and valid. Behind the scenes, we're using our Biz tool, our BlueSky Integration Studio. This is where we've got over 200 cleansing and validation processes designed. We also have the retailer mappings occurring here, and this is where we're transforming that data. So whether that data is coming from an EDI file, or a text file, or a CSV file, or from a relational database like Oracle or SQL or Access, we can transform that information into a common data type like Teradata or Oracle, or whatever the database you select, because again, it's database independent and we can reside on any database platform. The other thing is, even though we have BlueSky on the front end, which you're about to see, we also allow other BI tools to access that information. The different users are the analyst for the power user, the viewer. We've also got dashboards and our Excel plugin. We also have mobile support for customers who like to use products like Tableau and ClickView. And I'll just introduce the trade application, because there's a difference between trade promotion management, trade promotion optimization, and trade promotion intelligence. And what we see is in trade promotion and management, this is the upfront process of creating your trade promotions. And it's designed to run those promotions and help you financially plan those promotions. Trade promotion optimization, too many companies try to go from here to here, and they skip this very important piece. We tell people you cannot get to trade promotion optimization without first doing trade promotion intelligence. And the reason is because in order to optimize trade, you have to understand what's happening. And you can't understand it if you're just using the TPM reports. And the reason is because the TPM reports have the information required for the trade promotion management application. What you actually need is that plan data from the TPM solution, but you also need your shipment data, which could be in SAP or Oracle or anywhere else. You need that consumption data coming in from all those different POS sources. That needs to be integrated with your master data, and we need to pull in the forecasts that are coming in, as well as your cost of goods sold from your financial system. Once we have all that information, we're then integrating it into our trade promotion intelligence solution. We call it Trade Smart. From there, end users can query that information, get reports, look at cannibalization, look at lift, look at their joint business planning session reports, see ROI for not only the retailers, but also for you as the manufacturer. And the thing that's important here is understanding the difference between trade promotion intelligence and trade promotion optimization. Trade promotion intelligence is allowing you to see what's going on even as the promotions are occurring. It's allowing you to calculate those ROIs. And it's even helping you to predict ROI and the performance of those promotions. But trade promotion optimization takes it to the next level. That's taking it to the what-if analysis level. That's actually a component that Mindtree has called Apex. It's one of the reasons that we wanted to merge with them, because it adds a lot of value to the application. But as I stated before, you cannot get to TPO for what-if analysis without first understanding and integrating the right data sources for trade promotion intelligence. So this is an example of a joint business planning report for trade where we're integrating that information. And it is at the top of the half hour, so I'm going to just quickly show you some examples of reports. We've got our user interface here where you've got your different workbooks and you've got your alerts on your home page. We've got a dashboard that you can simply look at. You can change different promoted product groups. This happens to be a dashboard for trade, but as you can see, I've got multiple dashboards over here. I could have picked any one of these to open. I've also got an example of where we've created a report. This report is in BlueSky. I'm currently looking at cross-chain reports. I want to highlight that. It's dynamically charted below. If I wanted to pull in variance, for example, and I wanted to look at, that didn't have the information in it. If I wanted to look at regional information, I can look at chain by region by store. I can pull chain. I can rearrange my hierarchies. I can look at store by region by chain. I can pull out chain and simply filter on a specific chain if I just wanted to see Target, for example. I can also sort my revenue based on store, for example. I'm sorting lowest to highest, as this little arrow indicates. If I want to see my highest performing stores, I can simply resort. And I can highlight whatever I'd like and see it in the chart below. I can even change that into a bar chart. And I can pull that into PowerPoint if I'd like. I can grab that information. In this case, I'll just take the chart. I can also look at the different reports that were created for me by my analyst, by my power user. Here's a product family report. And you can see that there's exception highlighting as well. I've got a sales performance report where I've integrated my sales reps along with my regional information. So if I want to look at my regions by sales rep or sales reps by region and look at their performance, again, I can sort this by anything I like. There's my highest to lowest. Here's my lowest to highest, the guys that are going to be losing their job. And these are the guys that are going to President's Club. So it's easy for me to do that. I can also go to another report. In this case, I'm looking at my shipments versus my consumption. If I want, I can look at this in a area chart. It's hiding some information, so I can go in and I can change my chart transparencies. I can see what's behind there, and I can pull that into PowerPoint as well. I can also look at my different views here and pull anything I want to into PowerPoint. And if I want, I could just click Create PowerPoint, and it'll have me give it a name. I'll click Save. If it wants me to open it, it will go ahead and open it. And now all those reports that I pulled in are there. I can also, the first page is left blank intentionally, by the way, so you can apply your master. I can also export this to Excel, text, PDF, HTML, or XML. I can put in conditional formatting, create calculated columns. You saw the different report charting abilities. I can create a new query. I can even, if I wanted to put all this information into Excel, I could just click on this acceleration button. I could put it on my desktop. And I can export all reports from all current workbooks. And I'll just click OK. And you'll see it start working through each of the different reports. And it's also scrolling through each of the different views below. And it's exporting that data into Excel worksheets. And it's bringing with it all of the exception highlighting. It's bringing with it the charts that I have below. And it's bringing the actual data. So you can see here, it's giving me the name of the report and the report view. So this is my region performance report, my product family. Here's that sales rep report, and so forth. I also have the actual data and even the exception highlights. You'll also notice that while I'm in Excel, I can go into this plugin, which is my BlueSky. And if I go into Create Query from my BlueSky plugin in Excel, it will access the same metadata layer that my BlueSky Analytics is accessing. And it's opening now, and that's showing me the metadata. This is the same query builder that opens up if I'm opening it right from within BlueSky Analytics too. So in the interest of time here, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Karen because we've gone over a bit. So I'm going to open that back up and turn it back to Karen.
Thank you. We'd like to thank you for your time and invite you to follow our Relational Solutions training blog by going to our website at relationalsolutions.com. And we regularly post updates and industry information on LinkedIn under the Demand Signal Repository Institute. Today's training video will be posted on our Relational Solutions YouTube channel. And you can stay connected with us by following us on Twitter and Facebook. You're welcome to call or email myself or Janet with your comments, questions, and feedback. I know we did run over here, so please make an effort to send us any of those, and we'll be happy to reply. We look forward to hearing from you, and have a great day, everyone.